One of the steps that I think stops many would-be authors is getting an agent. What's your advice?
We have a top secret trick.
Uh-oh.
So everyone in your audience has to promise not to tell anyone our top secret trick.
Fine.
It's hard to figure out who the right agents are to even begin to approach. And we suggest that you go to the library or the bookstore and find books that are similar, of course not as good, but similar to yours.
Similar.
And look in the acknowledgments. Most authors will thank their agents when they write their acknowledgments. You'll see certain names popping up over and over again, and those might be good people to start with when sending out your query letters.
Uh-huh.
And how do you send out a query letter? How do you find out where to send it? Well, most literary agencies have websites that list very specific submission guidelines.
And you should pay attention to those submission guidelines. Remember, these are busy people. And in a way, it's like a job interview, and you're just trying to get in the foot in the door for that interview. So don't send your manuscript to them immediately. Follow the submission guidelines for the query letter, which often means just a letter first, introducing yourself. Mm-hmm. And by the way, another source for agents is a thing called Literary Marketplace, available online and also in libraries.
Also is a big fat book.
Big fat book called
Big
Literary
fat
Marketplace.
expensive book, which is why we recommend looking at it in the library.
Or online.
One of the things that you mentioned in your discussion of agents is that agents are now taking on some of the role of editors.
Absolutely.
And I wonder whether you think that's good or bad.
Well,
and what are the editors getting paid for if they're not editing?
Taking people to lunch. No, we love our editors. I have not yet had a bad experience with an editor. Mm-hmm. But I think what happens is because so many people want to be published and because agents are inundated with suggestions for books to sell, they really want to go into the marketplace armed with the best possible presentation. Mm-hmm. And that often means changing things that the author might not think are important, but that's really because they don't know the landscape of publishing.
Well, and also publishing is, like so many other businesses in these days, has gotten more sleek. Is a nice way of putting it. Downsized a bit. And
I love that.
Whereas
is he a writer?
Yes.
Where might have been a lot of assistant editors.
There's been some sleeking around here, too.
yeah, everywhere. And so there are fewer assistant editors to go through the old famous slush pile. And in fact, now really the agent is the first line instead of the assistant editor. It's the agent who's the first line and what you have to sell yourself. So in a way, they're filling that role that used to be filled in the publishing house by assistant editors.
And it's also the first point at which the author has to think, well, do I really want to make these changes? Like, for example, just pulling a hypothetical situation out of the air, an agent might read your fiction manuscript and really love it, except she wants you to lose the main character. Not that this has happened to anybody we know, but
time to find another agent.
There are things that sometimes it's just a matter of personal taste, and sometimes it's a matter of somebody really getting something about your book that you're too close to it to see.
Okay.
So you have to really think about these suggestions.
One of the next trials that a book goes through is something that you guys call the publisher's meeting. And I believe, sir, that you've taken part in a few of these?
I take part in these on a regular basis, and Kathy's been in a couple of these, too.
I've been in a few, too.
Publishers Advisory Board or Editorial Board, Ed Board or Pub Board, and they go by a lot of names.
And
now,
usually,
the interesting thing that you say about these meetings, I mean, the thing that I remember is that each of the players, if you will, each of those in attendance, has his or her own axe to grind. You might say his or her own interests,
there are
his or her own
agendas
connections. Yeah, agendas, yeah.
And
here's your damn book.
And it can be a kind of an arbitrary process. You can be caught in the crossfire, let's say, between marketing and publicity and editorial departments. Things can be going against you from the beginning of the meeting, and then all of a sudden the publisher will be checking his BlackBerry for email because he's getting a little bored and find a directive from his boss saying, we need more murder mysteries on the list right now. And there you have this book in front of you that suddenly becomes interesting property.
The lifesaver.
The lifesaver. Or it can go the other way. And what people don't really understand is how you're kind of at the mercy of this very arbitrary process.
You definitely want to have somebody in there advocating for you, and you don't want to be that little presentation that's just sitting on the table, and because some young editor had to get something to pub board.